welcome. And I wanted to share with you a bit about me first before we dive into this. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Australian and I've moved to the US about 3 years ago. But for me, my journey started about 10 years ago when I told my parents I did not want to fulfill the Asian prophecy of becoming a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. And I remember I had 6 months to go in my degree. And I came home, I said to my dad, Dad, I want to quit university and become a magician. Didn't go down very well. My dad, he looks at me intensely and he goes, what the hell? You want to read a Harry Potter? And as a result, I now hate Harry Potter. So he ruined that for me. Long story short, my parents actually ended up supporting me and I not only became a magician, I actually wanted to teach magic. So I built an online business teaching magic tricks. We built it up to just over 1 million users and we were awarded Young Entrepreneur of the Year in Australia, which kind of then propelled me into the world of speaking. And I spend the majority of my time now, when I was able to travel and speak, that's what I did with the majority of my time. But the other thing I did is I teach public speaking, I teach presentation. I teach magicians all over the world the area that magicians call showmanship, which is just a fancy word for communication skills. And that's what we're gonna focus on today. But before we dive into this, I thought I'd frame the entire presentation today with a magician named Val Valentino. And if you don't remember who Val Valentino is, the name Masked Magician might ring a bell. So I'm going to show you a picture of him. This is the Masked Magician. And you may remember the Masked Magician from the late 1990s. Val Valentino was paid $50 million to do 6 or 7 series on TV about revealing magic tricks. So he told the world how magic tricks were done. In essence, at the time when he did this, he destroyed the world of magic. He killed magic. But we then realized he didn't really kill magic. He forced magicians to innovate. He forced our industry to innovate. So what happened in the world of magic was around 2000, in the early 2000s, magic kind of died. You didn't really hear about magic on TV. It wasn't sexy. And then later, around 2008, 2009, magic made a comeback. So Val Valentino put magicians into a state of forced innovation so that we would create new experiences for our audiences. Because if you are not familiar with the world of magic, forever magicians kept doing the classic saw the woman in half. We kept relying on the classic old tricks. We never did anything new. But when Val Valentino came along, forced us to innovate, magicians created new experiences. And then now you see on the Got Talent programs around the world, magic started to make a big comeback. That only happened because magicians created new experiences. So first of all, how do we create new experiences? Well, to create new experiences, we have to collaborate with people we've never collaborated with before. So I want to show you in a moment some of the new pieces of magic that were born, and then we're going to use that, and then we're going to swing into communication. I'll show you how the metaphor links in just a moment. But I want you to join me over here. So as you join me over here, what we're going to do is the following. I want you to experience this with me. This is a new piece of magic that magicians created, which I won't tell you what industry has helped us create this, but you can experience it yourself from your screen. So right here, I've got the Jack of Hearts. I want you all to keep track of the Jack of Hearts and not the 10. So watch the Jack, not the 10. Watch very closely. And the table will represent your hand. So here we go. So if I take the 2 cards here, watch the Jack. And you can answer this in your own heads as you're watching at home. But who has the Jack? You can make a guess. Do I have it or do you have it? Most people might say I have it, and no, actually, it's on the table. Okay? So your job now is to continue to keep track of the Jack as I make this more complicated, because now there are 3 cards. There are 3 cards now. Don't watch the 10s, watch the Jack. Watch very carefully. Watch the Jack. So I'm going to do this so slowly and so fairly. What I'll do is I'll give you the Jack. So at this point, obviously, you have the Jack on the table because it represents you. But then you'd be wrong because actually, no, I have it. What's on the table is actually the 10. I want you to watch this even more closely because now I'll do it in slow motion. In slow motion, I'll give you the 10 to start with. Watch the Jack. Don't take your eyes off the Jack. I'll do it very slowly. I'll show you once. I'll show you twice. Watch again. I'll show you thrice. So obviously, I've got the Jack here, you'd say. Again, you make the decision in your own mind, but again, you probably didn't see it happen, did you? Because I don't have the Jack. The Jack's actually in your hand. It's on the table. So we take it a step further. Now I'll take the jack and I'll put it in my pocket. So look, I'm gonna do this so fairly, okay? You can see me at the whole time. The screen's on me the whole time. So the jack goes into my pocket. 2 10s are in my hand. In a moment, I'm gonna go to my pocket. I'm gonna palm the jack. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna palm it, right? And I'm gonna switch one of the 10s for the jack and the jack for the 10. And you're not gonna see it happen. Now watch this very carefully. Because at this point, you're slightly misdirected. You don't know what to watch. Do you watch my left hand, which has the watch? Or do you watch my right hand, which doesn't have the watch, interestingly enough? And then, or do you watch my pocket, or do you look at me? How do you watch everything, even though it's through a screen? Is that you can't, because you didn't see it go, did you? Jack's back in my hand. So obviously, in my pocket is the 10. So now this next part, I find this next part of misdirection fascinating. Because what I'll do is, in this game, when they play this game, they always let you win at least once. They go, oh, look, I'll let you win once, and I will. So what I'll do is I'll just give you the jack. So you can have the jack. They let you win once. It builds your confidence, and then you stay in the game. So you see, now obviously you have the jack. No, you don't. You probably didn't see it happen, did you? The jack's actually in my pocket, because what's here is actually the 10. So look, we'll do this next one. This is a very difficult move now. Looks like this. Watch this hand here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So fair. So fair. The 10 goes into my pocket. So then the question is, what card do you think is on the table right now? Some of you may be thinking the 10. Oh, very good, you're jumping ahead. But this is when I use reverse psychology. It's still the jack. But you see, if I wanted you to win, I'd always give you the jack. Do you think I want you to win in this case here? Do you think I want you to win? Yeah, absolutely, of course. That's the jack too. And you see the final one, how can you lose now, especially when you have a magician as your friend? And the moral of the story really with this one, there's the first jack, second jack, and final jack. The moral of the story really is never gamble with me. Right. Now, the reason I did this is this piece of magic never existed before Val Valentino. It existed today because magicians then collaborated with people they've never collaborated with before. For example, that trick, to create that trick, we collaborated with psychologists. We've also collaborated with artists to understand principles about hiding in plain sight. And I'll talk about this concept so you can understand. Because I think the brilliance of this is that when we're forced to innovate, amazing things comes as a result. So look at this. I'll show you this picture here. So you can't see anything in this picture right now because you don't know what to look for, right? So there's something there hiding in plain sight, but you don't know what to look for. So I'll tell you what to look for. What you should be looking for is 2 people dancing. Okay? So now you know what to look for. If I now go ahead and show you the original image, you can see it, even though it's hiding in plain sight. So magicians learned a whole new bunch of techniques because they were forced to work with people they've never worked before. And as a result of doing this, we've been able to create new pieces of magic we've never created before, therefore creating for audiences a new experience. And I feel like right now in our industry, in the event space, we've got a bit of a Val Valentino, a bit of a masked magician who's come into the event space, and it's come in the form of COVID-19. And it's forced us to innovate. It's forced us to create new experiences for our clients, for those we serve. And that's why I'm so proud of being able to partner with Premiere, because creating an experience virtually doesn't mean the impact has to be less. Doesn't mean that it has to be boring. And I really believe that as we work together, we'll still be able to serve our clients and create for them very unique experiences. Now, talking about the topic of experiences, when it comes to the world of magic, magicians have a flawed mindset, which I'd love to share with you. Magicians tend to think that magic, to become successful at magic, to become successful here, we feel like we have to only focus on one area. And this is the area that most of our clients, and this is how most people tend to think, is they go, to become successful at anything, not just magic, but anything, we have to be very good with our technical skills. I call it SKE, which is skills, knowledge, and experience. We think if we just focus on our technical skills, knowledge, and experience, we'll become successful. That's not true. especially in the world of magic, for example, there's one more area that we need to focus on, one more area. And I alluded to it in the beginning. And the second area that magicians have to focus on to really achieve success is what we call showmanship. And showmanship, again, is a fancy word for communication skills. I'll prove this to you through a hand gesture. You see, you may be technically a 10 out of 10 at what you do. But if your ability to communicate is a 2 out of 10, do you think people perceive you to be a 10 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10? The reality is you are only as good as you can communicate. So just reflecting upon my own journey to share with you the example that I know deeply is that as a magician, I spent thousands of hours developing skill, knowledge, and experience. Yet my communication skills were here. No success. People didn't notice me. Clients didn't notice me. No one could see the value that I had inside until I improved my ability to communicate. And as leaders, I believe this is the same thing. Leaders may be technically brilliant, have brilliant experience, but if they don't communicate well, they won't have influence and they won't have impact. So as we improve our ability to communicate, we amplify the best parts of ourselves and of our people. This is why this component of showmanship or communication skills is so critical. But when we break into showmanship and communication skills, we won't be looking at this, we'll be looking at this. When we're looking at showmanship, or we'll call it communication skills now, is made up of two areas. So communication skills, it's made up of two things. The first thing it's made up of is visual image. And your visual image is the way you dress and also your body language. And this is something that we spend a lot of time on. Most of us know this. We know to dress a certain way so people perceive us a certain way. And the other thing we don't think about is body language. We don't put a lot of time into thinking about body language. That's our visual image. And when it comes to communication, there's one more area that people definitely neglect. And the second area is your vocal image. Most people haven't put any time into thinking about their vocal image. And your vocal image is the image that people form in their heads the moment you speak. The moment you reveal your vocal image is the moment you speak. Now, something fascinating, I find this really, really, really interesting, is when people see your visual image, when they see you, people make assumptions. They make assumptions about who you are. So they'll assume, oh, this person looks successful. This person seems like they're an expert. This person seems like they're friendly. They seem like they're trustworthy. So they make assumptions about who you are. Now, when you reveal your vocal image, that's when they turn these assumptions, whatever assumptions they have made, good or bad, that's when they turn the assumptions into beliefs. That's when they turn those assumptions into beliefs. When they see you visually, they're only making assumptions, but the vocal image turns those assumptions into beliefs. And that, to me, is a very powerful lesson there. Because often people never even think about their vocal image. They don't even think about how they vocally come across. They don't even think their vocal image is something they can style. Just like the way you style your hair or you style the way you dress, you can also style your vocal image to ensure you're communicating across the optimal image of you. So that's what I really want to focus on today, is that I'm going to give you some tips on visual image, body language, and also some tips on vocal image. And let's start with vocal image. We'll start with the vocal foundations. And when I teach vocal image, there's many areas of vocal image that I do teach and I share with leaders, because I believe this is the leader's instrument. The leader's instrument is their voice. Think about how you're experiencing me right now. You're experiencing me through technology, of course, but at the end of the day, the image you have of who I am as a person right now, the assumptions and beliefs you're forming about who I am as a person, is formed by my visual image and ultimately by my vocal image that you're experiencing right now. And leaders really have to get this right, because for them to be able to have more impact and more influence, they've got to get these two things right. And I hope all of you, if you've got any questions, you've got anything, please feel free to drop them in the comment section now. I'm more than happy to address them at the end. Otherwise, we'll move into the vocal foundations, all right? So when we're looking at the vocal foundations, Vocal foundations. There are 5 core areas you've got to focus on. The first area is rate of speech. Rate of speech. Imagine what happens to you if you jumped onto this live stream and for the next 45 minutes, I speak like this. You're probably thinking to yourself, I'm just going to check the Netflix tab to see what specials have come on for the comedy section. You'd probably get bored and you'd leave. So what it tells us is that any default rate of speech is bad. It's not that the slow rate of speech is bad. It's just that if you get stuck into that and you stick with that, that's bad. Any default rate of speech is terrible. Because if I speak really quickly like this, and for the next 45 minutes, I'll take you through the communication skills of foundations, and I speak like this, and I keep going like this, is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Or even if I speak at a fairly comfortable rate of speech like this, which is fairly engaging, but I keep going like this, and I don't slow down, and I don't vary it at all, what happens is you start to disengage. It becomes monotonous. It becomes monotonous. Any default rate of speech, if you stick to it, becomes monotonous. So the key with rate of speech is you've got to vary your rate of speech. You've got to vary it. And here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is if what you're saying is very important, then you slow down. There is nothing important here. But doesn't it just seem critical? It does, right? And then if it's not important, then you can just quickly gloss over it. And that rule of thumb allows you to just vary your rate of speech based on meaning. Slowing down is like a verbal highlight. This is what I want you to focus on, this right here. And all of a sudden, it breathes importance into what you've just said. That's the first foundation. Now, the second foundation, the second is volume. Volume, this is the lifeblood of your voice. And if you think of volume as having a scale of 1 to 10, most of my students, when they come to me, they tend to be speaking at around a level 3. And if I give you a level 3 right now, again, I believe in experiential learning. Imagine I did an entire virtual session or an in-person communication like this. All of a sudden, what we start to learn about volume is that when you have at least a level 5 to a 6, a 5 to a 6 here, what it shows is it shows confidence. Not only does it show confidence, it shows authority. And the very powerful thing about volume is when you inject volume into your communication as a leader is that it shows that you believe in the things that you are saying. That's the powerful quality about volume, is that it shows you believe in the things you're saying. Whereas without volume, it shows you believe in the things that you're saying. But I believe it. I believe it. No matter how hard you push without volume, it doesn't come across. And the final thing that volume really shows is it shows vitality. Confidence, authority, you believe in the things you say, and vitality. So many beautiful qualities about volume. And the reason I'm sharing the foundations with you too is often as we go through life and we meet people who are great communicators, and we maybe see them on stage, we maybe see them virtually, or wherever we meet somebody who we deem a great communicator, a great speaker, a great presenter, we tend to think to ourselves, wow, that was amazing. We think that was amazing, but we don't know why. We don't know why. What I'm doing here, teaching you the foundations, is to reveal to you the method behind the madness. So the next time you see somebody and you go, wow, they seem great, you now see the method behind the madness. You go, oh, it's because they've varied their rate of speech, they've varied their volume, for example. Which takes us to the third foundation. The third foundation, we're going to do a bit of a thought experiment with this, but the third foundation is pitch or melody. Pitch or melody. And we'll do a quick thought experiment here with you all. So I know you're home, but let's just do a quick thought experiment together. And the thought experiment is this. And if you can type, please do engage with the chat section for this part. But hold on until I ask you. So for those of you who are here, think of a book that you absolutely love, a book that you adore, that you've read multiple times. Think of a book that you have, okay? So with that book in mind, if I asked you to recite for me, word for word, one page in that book, if you can do that, just type yes. Just type yes in the chat section. Okay, good. So no one is really typing. So this is good. This is good. It means not many people can do this. This is crazy. If you can recite a full page in a book word for word without getting a word wrong. That would be crazy. But here's the thing. Let me ask you this. You can just answer this in your heads and by yourselves in front of your computer screens. You can answer me this. Is there a favorite song that you have? Do you have a favorite song that you kind of sing often? If I asked you then to recite for me word for word that song now, could you do it without getting one word wrong? The answer is probably yes. You probably can do it. So you have to ask yourself, well, what's the difference? I mean, a song has roughly 300 words. A page in the book has roughly 300 words. Why can you recite a song, yet not a page in the book? You can recite a song because a song has melody. Because a song has melody. So you've got to understand the concept that if you add more melody to your voice, what you say then becomes more memorable. One of the pillars of leadership is that if we want to be a better leader, we need to become more influential. But if you need to be more influential, the pragmatic of that is you first need to be more memorable. And if you break it down more granularly, that means you need to have more melody in your voice. Because the more melody you have, the more memorable you become. And there's another fascinating lesson to be learned here with melody. And I want you to experience it, because again, even virtually, I want you to experience this. I believe in experiential learning. I'm going to play for you a piano song. I'm not going to play it for you, but I'll just play you a piano track. And I want you to listen to this piano track. Have a listen to this. Okay, tell me, how do you feel? You can even type this. How did that song make you feel? And thank you for those who are engaging with us. Oh, we got sad, we got calm, calming. Yeah, okay, interesting. Thank you for engaging with me. I really appreciate you all. So now let's go to another song. And thank you. Melancholy. That's a good one. I love that word. Now tell me, how does this song make you feel? Have a listen. How's that make you feel? It's different, right? Yeah, it's inspired, upbeat, hopeful, reflective, happy, calm, optimistic, joyful. Whoa, thank you. Thank you for the engagement. It gets me slightly excited. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's do one more example. How does this song make you feel? Very scary, isn't it? I love what's coming through. It's like edgy, afraid, ominous, pensive, suspenseful. You all have an incredible vocabulary. Thank you for your participation there. This is the point I wanted to make. You just heard 3 different piano songs. Those piano tracks, they had no words. They had no words. How did you know how to feel? It's because underneath melody, there is a world of meaning. People feel things when you speak. This is why people say, when someone walks into the room, oh, I feel like this person just lifts the room. I feel like they just come in and they're brilliant energy. What are they talking about when they say that? It's the person's melody. And there is a melody that lives underneath your voice. Under every leader's voice, there is a melody. And at the end of today, I'm going to teach you a self-awareness technique to teach you how to become conscious of, well, what melody lives underneath your voice? What melody lives underneath your voice? All right. Now, this takes us to the third foundation. The fourth foundation. And the fourth foundation is tonality. Tonality. And tonality, to explain to you simply, tonality is the emotion that lives underneath your voice. And in psychology, there are 6 core human emotions. 6 core human emotions. We've got happy, sad, angry. My handwriting is like a doctor's handwriting. Should have become a doctor. My mum would have been so proud. We've got disgust. We've got surprise. So we've got happy, sad, and fearful. Fearful. All right, these are the 6 core human emotions that are important when it comes to communication. To become a more effective communicator, we need to be able to portray the core human emotions to make our communications more effective, and we have more clarity in the way we communicate. Now, when it comes to tonality, it means that the emotions that live underneath our words, there are 6 types. 6 types that you can see here. Happy, sad, angry, disgust, surprised, and fearful. The question then is, how do we inject emotion into the way we speak? And this is what people often say is empathy. Because empathy is when we come across, we inject more emotion into our words. So people go, oh, this person seems like they're empathetic to my situation, which is mastering tonality. So how do we inject happy into the way that we sound, into our words? And the answer is simple. And I genuinely want you to try this. So just try this at home. And if you're in the office, people will think you're strange, but just try this. I want you to make a really happy face. Just genuinely, please make a very happy face. Okay, don't go serial killer on me, but just a happy face. And when you do the happy face, I want you in a moment, as I count down from 3, we'll say, good morning, everyone. Okay, so happy face in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. Okay, cool. Now try this. Please genuinely try this. Do a disgust face. A disgust face, like, oh. For me, it just become a dad, and it's kind of like when you're changing nappies and you get poo on your fingers. And then the face you make when there's poo on your fingers. So then, sorry to disgust you all, it's R-rated at 9 a.m. in the morning. But make sure, in the moment, disgusted face, and we'll say, good morning, everyone. So, So in 3, 2, 1, good morning, everyone. Disgusted, right? So what that tells us is, what that tells us is your face is the remote control that you can control to inject different emotions into your words. Your face is the remote control. Now, what happens? What happens when we don't think about our facial expressions? Is we get stuck in a default face. Oh yes, a default face. And I will tell you, the default face is otherwise known as an RBF. Oh yeah, I won't tell you what the abbreviation stands for, but an RBF, resting something face. And then all of a sudden gives us a bit of a certain tonality, doesn't it? So again, being aware of tonality helps us become a more effective communicator and helps us avoid that default face. And there are 6 core human emotions here, and paired with that is 6 facial expressions. Now, the final foundation over here is simple yet powerful. Pause. The final one out of the 5 is the pause. It's frightening, isn't it? Most people are afraid of this. However, it's one of the most powerful foundations ever, because the qualities of the pause allow the following. When you pause, you give people time to process what you've just said. When you pause, you give yourself time to process what you've just said. And when you pause, you give people an opportunity to speak so you can listen. And the final thing that's powerful about the pause is when you teach your teams and your leaders to pause more, what it allows them to do is it allows them to get rid of all the ums and the ahs and the filler words. This is probably the one thing that I've noticed in leaders that takes so much away from their credibility. The ums and the ahs and the filler words, the do you know what I mean? These things, it's like you're playing a piano and you're playing beautifully. You're playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and you're going da 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 da. It's horrible notes that destroy the music. And what it does when you have ums and ahs is it decreases the clarity of your message. It's verbal clutter that decreases the effectiveness of your leadership and the clarity of your message. So when you pause more and you get more comfortable with, it helps you get rid of those ums and ahs, because people go, oh, well, when I feel like saying an and an ah, what do? You replace it with a pause. You replace it with a pause. You see, these are the vocal foundations. And while it comes across as being simple, it's not easy to master. If you can master these 5 core things, this is what the great speakers you see do. This is what the great presenters you see do. This is all they're doing. This is all they're doing. This is the 5 core foundations. This is all that they're doing. Now you can see the method behind the madness, so you can begin your journey to become a more masterful communicator. Now, this is how we kind of style ourselves vocally. What's important now is, what about visually? So when you're looking at visual image, there's many areas to body language. There's posture, you've got eye contact, again, facial expressions, you've also got movement. But the area we're going to focus on today is what most people tend to be afraid of. And most people tend to, often when they speak, they go, I don't know what to do with these things. What do I do with these? You know, this is classic spirit fingers here. But people tend to be afraid. And I'll pick on the men first. Men tend to, you know what men do when they don't know what to do with their hands? They go into their pockets. Yeah, they go into their pockets. And then they get a bit comfortable here. And once they get comfortable within their pockets, what do they do with their hands when they get kind of excited? They move their hands about. And it's ridiculous. People go, what's happening? What are they doing? Are they trying to find keys? And then what about the women? I'll pick on the women here as well. Women, when you don't know what to do with your hands, what do? You either place them on your hips, and then you swing the hips to gesture, or often men and women tend to sometimes just fold their arms. So let's once and for all learn the foundations to hand gestures, because hand gestures, why learn hand gestures? Because hand gestures increase the clarity of your message. So notice how I just kind of said increase the clarity, and I did this. Imagine I said the same thing. Hand gestures will help you increase the clarity of your message. Which one was more effective? Which piece of communication felt more effective? With hand gestures, because our body language is there to support what we're saying. It's there to support what we're saying. Now, when it comes to learning hand gestures, I hope you're getting really excited by this because, I mean, hand gestures, let's learn the foundations for them finally. There was a lady named Virginia Satir, and Virginia Satir is a family therapist. And she came up with the foundations to hand gestures because she realized that people were more honest about they were more honest with their body language when they came in to see her. She was, again, a family therapist. She found that the families were more honest with their hand gestures than they were with their words, which then she gave birth to the Satir categories. That's what it's called. She calls them the Satir categories. Satir categories. Now, conveniently, there are also 5 core foundational hand gestures. The first one is what she calls placator. Placator. And to demonstrate for you all, placator looks like this. Hands palm facing up. This is placator. It's non-aggressive, very open. It's a great way to open a conversation. And again, remember, even if conversations are happening virtually now, all these things apply. All these things apply. So this is a wonderful opening gesture to open a kind of conversation with. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining me all virtually. I appreciate you all being here. It's a very kind of welcoming gesture. However, this gesture kind of lacks authority. Doesn't have a lot of authority here. So we need another gesture. And the second gesture is called leveler. Leveler. And as you've guessed, leveler looks like this. Hands palm face down. Please try this with me. I want you all to really try this with me. Try this with me with your hands face up and then down. So in a moment, we're going to say something together with our hands face up. We'll say good morning, everyone, like this. And then we'll say good morning, everyone, again with our hands face down. Just try it at home. No one's going to judge you. Let's give this a crack, eh? All right, here we go. So in 3, we'll do it up first. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. We'll do it face down now. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone. Did you notice something happened to your voice? When you go down, your voice changed. The qualities of your voice had more authority. And if you did this, I hope this proves to you that your body is connected to your voice and your voice is connected to your body. And so many people are so afraid of what are people afraid of when it comes to communication? They're afraid of having a monotone voice. But what they don't realize is a monotone voice comes from a monotone body. A monotone voice comes from a monotone body. So as you move your body, it changes the qualities of your voice. So leveler, this is very powerful. And a big mistake I see many executive leaders make is, they'll finish their talk on stage or even virtually. And at the end, they'll do this. At the end, they'll go, right, are there any questions? When you do this, you'll say, no, I don't want any questions. So just be very careful. When you're inviting for questions, you want to use an open gesture and you go, hey, are there any questions? Notice the difference that makes? That's leveler. But there's one more gesture that's even more powerful. Please be very careful with this gesture. The next gesture is called the blamer. The blamer. And you probably guessed already, the blamer looks like this. It's pointing with your fingers like this. Very intense, very intense. Now, there's also a substitute for the blamer if you don't want to go straight to intensity, and it's the full finger point. Point with all your fingers. This is also very powerful as well. Slightly less powerful than this. Quite intimidating. And obviously, you never want to start a presentation in a way where you come out, it's good to see you. Don't dual wield. Don't dual wield. Start with placator. Now, the fourth one is called computer. And this one is a very important gesture for leaders because computer looks like this. It's kind of the thinker pose, the thinker pose. And here's the reality of the situation is that when someone's speaking to a leader, if you don't go into the computer pose, and then the computer pose is brilliant because this is showing your peers that I'm listening, I'm being attentive, and I'm processing what you're saying, and I'm being present. Otherwise, think about it. If you came and talked to me and I didn't know what to do with my hands, I'd kind of stand here and you're talking, I'm just kind of awkward, seems a bit weird. So this is a powerful gesture to show I care, to show I'm listening, to show that I care and I'm listening. The final gesture, the final one out of the foundations, is called distractor. Distractor. And distractor looks like this. And then you use distractor when, say, I'm talking. Looks like I'm losing some of you. Looks like some of you are losing focus. Actually, look, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. So the action for distractor was just a quick clap and then what I like to call shooing bees. So go, oh, look, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think let's start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning. So distractor is used as a pattern break. It's used as a way to, you seem like you're losing your audience and you seem like you're losing the person you're communicating to. Quick pattern break brings their attention back to you so that you can reset the attention as opposed to just keep going without trying to regain their attention. Now, very important with distractor, make sure you're still speaking when you're doing it. Otherwise, it looks like this. Otherwise, I'm losing them. Okay, Vin taught me distractor. Kind of looks like you're doing Broadway. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It looks ridiculous. But all of a sudden, when you add sound to it and you go, actually, look, I'm so sorry. I think I've gone too fast with this. Let's go back to step one. All of a sudden, you can regain their attention. These are the 5 core foundations to hand gestures. Now that you've learnt a little about visual image and you've learnt a little bit about vocal image, the last process I'm going to share with you is the following. And again, I'm just calling out to all of you. If you've got any questions or anything you'd like me to share more, we are going to jump into Q&A in probably about 5 or so minutes and looking forward to hearing from all of you. And then thank you for engaging with me in the chat section. I appreciate it. So look, the final thing I'm going to teach you is how to build self-awareness on how you currently come across auditory-wise and visually. So the process I'll teach you is called record. Oh, sorry. Record and review. Record and review is a very simple process, yet it's a very powerful process. The first step is it requires you to film a 5-minute video of yourself. So the first thing you've got to do is 5-minute video. So record a 5-minute video of you speaking. You can speak about anything. Talk about what you had for breakfast, then what you had for lunch. Talk about what you did during the day. Talk about one of your passions. The content is a little irrelevant at this point as we're fine-tuning our instrument. I want you just to record a 5-minute video. And then when you watch the video back, you're going to watch it back in 3 different ways. The first time you watch it back, this is what you do. So say you record it with your phone. Then when you first watch it back, turn the sound all the way up and then turn your phone over so you can't see yourself. Just listen to yourself auditory-wise, which is called an auditory. It's an auditory review. So as you listen to yourself, now you know the foundations to the vocal image. Listen to your rate of speech. how's my rate of speech? Am I pausing? Oh, goodness, I'm not pausing. Wow, I'm speaking so fast. Start taking notes and build some self-awareness here. This process acts like a mirror for you and your leaders to be able to look at themselves and go, oh, okay, clearly I've been doing that wrong for a while. How come no one told me my hair was sticking up from the back? This is a way for you to do it with auditory, an auditory image, right? So auditory review first. Take a bunch of notes, build self-awareness. The second time you watch it back, this is different. The second time you watch it back, grab your phone, turn the sound off, face the video to you so you can see it, and just look at yourself visually. So then obviously it's a visual. It's a visual review. Take notes. What am I doing with my hands? Am I putting in my pockets? Am I putting on my hips? Am I folding my arms? Am I doing so? Am I being weird with my hands? So just become more aware of what you're doing with your hands. So you can visually style yourself to become a more effective leader. And also check on the facial expressions too. Am I moving my face? Am I moving my face? So many people will look at someone as being charismatic or being enthusiastic because they move their face. The third thing, now this one is a bit harder because this one requires you to get the video transcribed. Get the video transcribed. Once you get the video transcribed, and when you're getting your video transcribed, you can actually check a box to say, leave in the non-words and the filler words. You can check a box that says that. So you get the video transcribed. When you get the video transcribed, go through it and read it with a highlighter. Read through it with a highlighter. And every single time you spot a non-word, highlight it. Every time you see filler words, do you know what I mean? Like, so, highlight it. Create a list of filler words. Build self-awareness so that you can once and for all remove this from your language. It's decreasing the clarity of your effectiveness, of your message and your effectiveness. So ensure that you go through this process. And I promise you, 10 iterations of this will completely transform how you come across as an individual. Whether you are a salesperson, whether you're an engineer, whether you're someone in the technical space, this will completely transform your vocal and your visual image. All right, look, that's going to be enough from me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share all this content with all of you. I'd love to dive in a moment to look at, well, if you've got any questions, if you've got any thoughts, I'd love to share what I know with you. So I know that in a moment we're going to have Sean and Brian. Well, Brian's going to be joining us again. And I'm checking the comment section. And yes, rev.com is a great website for getting transcriptions done. And oh, Brian's back. Hey, Brian, thanks for jumping back on.
Yes, I've got my happy face on here. My favorite part was shooing bees. I don't know about you, but that's got to be fun to do. I got a kick out of that. But yes, no, so thank you for sharing that. We'll dive into some questions here real quick. And so one of the first ones here is an anonymous question here. What companies do you see that are innovating and adjusting to the new normal using new magic that seems to be successful?
New magic. Okay, I'm assuming you're using that as a metaphor. You're not literally talking about the word of magic. Look, I feel like the industry I'm the most intimate with is the event space. So I'm kind of very biased. I've been focusing my attention on our industry at the moment to try to adapt and innovate. And I've got to say, I'm very impressed with, again, like what you're all doing here at Premier and what speakers are doing and what event planners are doing to try to still be able to serve their clients, whether it's setting up a studio at home or going into a studio to still be able to create an event. That's where my attention has been. And I've been very inspired by what everyone's doing in that space.
So the next one, another anonymous question here. How will visual image change with more virtual interaction? Will we see a shift to a more formal virtual visual image, or will the new visual image become more casual, or how will it change?
I think like anything, what's going to happen here is, well, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of this visual meeting we're having here? This purpose is for me to share with you what I'm able to do so that we may potentially collaborate and work together in the future. So for that purpose, I still need to put a dress shirt on and put pants on and wear shoes, right? So to me, for that purpose, that needs to happen. However, if I was just getting on a call with Premier Speakers Bureau and I've been working with them forever and we're just about to have a chit chat, then it's t-shirt and shorts time. You know, it's time to even let the toes come out for a bit of a bit of a wonder. But to me, it depends on the purpose. There's not one size fit all. Look at the purpose of what you're doing. Virtual is just like in person. Eye contact is still important. Body language is still important. Turn your camera on, and all of a sudden, there's a different level of rapport that's going to be established. You know, otherwise, when you just do an audio call, it's just auditory. It's just vocal image that's forming in people's minds. I say turn on the camera, and depending on the purpose, adjust the way you come across vocally and visually.
All right, we'll get a couple more here. How do you coach women and men differently with communication?
Look, it's not that different, to be honest. And I'll use the example of this. I look at everyone's voices as being a piano, and it's probably my influence of being young and being forced to play music. But is there a difference between a man and a woman playing the piano? Not really. Not really at all. Maybe in the attire they wear while they're playing it. However, there's no real difference. To me, it's about mastering the instrument, and the instrument is universal. There's no real difference in terms of playing of the instrument. I would say there are no differences in my experience. I find that the core is really about how do we master this instrument? And I want to take a bit more time answering this, because there's an important thing that comes up in all of my classes. At one point, men and women, they will say to me, "Oh, Vin, when you ask me to push my voice as a leader and you ask me to do things like this with my voice, I feel fake and phony." And I have to reframe this for all of you on this call. I can't teach communication without teaching this. And is that if you can do this sound with your voice, if you can go all the way here, look, how is that fake and phony when that's actually still your voice? If you can make that sound, it's not fake and it's not phony. Now, a piano has 88 keys. The problem is that we've gone through our entire lives playing these 12 keys, and we've become so familiar with these 12 keys that when I push you to try something over here and go into head voice, and I tell you to do this, you go, "Oh, that's fake and phony." No, it's not fake and phony. It's just unfamiliar. Not fake and phony, it's unfamiliar. So to me, the key to great leadership and the key to effective communication is teaching our people, how do we access our entire instrument? How do we access the entire 88 keys? And it's not inauthentic, because to me, the most inauthentic thing is if I'm only ever going to play these 12 keys over here. To me, that is very inauthentic. No matter what words I say, this will come across inauthentic. Whereas if I can play my entire piano, that's as authentic as you can get.
Just to let you know that. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry. I'll quickly repeat that.
Yes, thank you.
What I'll say is, different parts of the world, you focus on different areas. For example, the foundations of everything is the same. However, like my Singaporean client, for example, with them, they just had to focus on articulation. And what they didn't realize was that they were using Singaporean, the Singaporean mouth movements, their language in Chinese. They were using those mouth movements while speaking English, not realizing that English requires a different set of mouth movements. So I got them to do a very simple exercise where they had to just read out loud for 15 minutes a day and overdo their mouth movements. And you should have seen the clarity that was achieved when they were speaking the English language. Their articulation improved tenfold, which improved the effectiveness of their communication. So to me, foundations globally are the same. However, different parts of the world requires us to focus on different things. There's a bit more attention on articulation here, a bit more attention on volume over here, a bit more attention on slowing down over here. So.
Very good, very good. Well, this has been incredible, very informative, and also a lot of fun. And so I really thank you for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, no worries. And look, I just wanted to ask this.
Yes.
Is there time for one last piece of magic?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So if there's time for one last piece of magic, I'd love to get a volunteer. And look, Premier and we're trying to be innovative here, and we're trying to push the boundaries a little. So if one of you now in the audience, we want to pick a live person from the audience. If you'd like to experience a bit of magic with me, I'd like you to say me, and you need to turn on your camera and your video. So if you'd like to do this, the first person to type the number 1143, I'd love to bring you on. Please innovate with us. Please help us change the way we're doing things. 1,143. Don't leave us hanging. Let's do this. Okay. Well, look, Brian's already said this. Brian typed the wrong number, but we're going to go with Brian anyway. So Brian Elliott. Sean, let's find Brian Elliott in the attendee list, and let's make Brian Elliott one of the co-hosts. So Brian, thank you for innovating with us. Brian, in a moment, turn your audio on and turn your camera on as well while we do this next piece. This is fun. This is as a speaker, I'm trying to find ways to create virtual magic and not just kind of on camera magic, but some kind of magic virtually. So, or we can do it with Ryan as well, if Brian couldn't come on. So we can try this. And all of you get to experience this too in a moment, if you can come on. Oh, we've got Jason Hartman. Actually, no, Jason Hartman actually typed the right number. I'd love to do this with Jason. And I want you all to experience this. So in a moment, Sean's going to bring Jason over. Let's try with Jason. And thanks for experimenting with us and being patient. The process of exploration is rather messy at times. Ah, Jason, I can see your name now. Brilliant. So whenever we can, Jason, bring your, yeah, we can see you. And can you speak, Jason?
How are you? Yes.
Good. Yes, we've got our first live volunteer. Okay. So Jason, this is what I want you to do. All right, Jason, in a moment, I want you to go to my website. And for those of you who are watching this, you are more than welcome to join me on this. So I want you, and I promise this is nothing promotional. This is for a brilliant piece of virtual magic. I want you all to go to my website, which is just vingiang.com. So it's on your screen there so you can see it. www.vingiang.com. And all of you, I want you to, if you jump on the website, if you want to experience this together with Jason, and once you're there, just leave it set up. Just don't touch it now. Are you there, Jason?
Yes.
Perfect. Leave it loaded. Don't do anything more.
All right.
Jason, I just want you to know that that website was loaded before we even did this piece of magic. Is that fair?
Yes. Well, yes, I loaded it before.
Okay, perfect. So Jason, what I'm going to get you to do now is, in a packet of cards, there are 52 cards. Most men tend to pick the ace of spades. Women sometimes go for the seven of diamonds or the queen of hearts. Men also sometimes go for the queen of hearts as well. So what I want you to do now is I want you to pick any card you'd like. It's a free choice, completely free choice. Which one would you like?
King of hearts.
Now, do you want to stick or change? Normally I'd let people change, but I'm going to make you stick. Is that okay?
I'll stick.
Okay. So King of Hearts. Now, you loaded my website before. I want you to go back to my website, and everyone else can do this as well if you loaded my website, and start scrolling down my website until you see a green book. That green book is a magic book. It's one of my favorite magic books. And on there, I have my favorite bookmark.
Me off for a moment. I don't know why. So I need to.
That's okay.
All right. So what do I do? I'm on the website.
Scroll down my website and just look for a green book.
Oh, the one that's
my favorite.
Magician? Yeah.
Yeah, as you go down.
Right. Got it.
And once you see the green book, I have a bookmark that I often use.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
And the bookmark that I use is the King of Hearts. That's the book that's been on my website for years. So I don't know how that works, Jason, but thank you for your brilliant reaction. And look, everyone, this is Vinh Giang. I work very closely with Premier Speakers Bureau, and if you've got any questions about what I do, please forward all your inquiries to one of the best teams in the world.
Amazing.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason, thanks for being a guest. Vin, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. For everyone who is watching and listening here, I want to invite you. So we do this every Friday, 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Coming up, we've got in the next few weeks, we're going to have Damon John from Shark Tank, Peter Sheehan, one of your fellow Australians there, Vin. He's one of the world-renowned experts on new market opportunities and trends. And we're also going to have Kendra Hall, who is a phenomenal storyteller who teaches leaders how to become, and those in sales and everything else, on how to become better storytellers. So Vin, thank you again so much for coming on. And everybody, thanks for tuning in.
Take care, everyone. Bye for now.